So in this video, I'm going to talk about your watercolor painting, some things to do, not to do, and I'm also going to talk to you about using Crayola markers to paint with. And so I just got done painting my sky. I had to draw one of these and paint the sky here, and I didn't finish it because I thought this is a perfect time to talk to you about some things that you need to be aware of. For example, right here I have a construction line, meaning a line that I use to draw the buildings, and so many times people are painting their sky and they go all the way down to that line and then they just stop. Well, that line actually should not be there. So if you have a chance before you begin painting, you need to erase that construction line. Alright, and then go ahead and paint all the way down to ground level. Or if you decide that your ground level needs to change and you want hills in the background, you can certainly do that also. But just make sure that you paint all the way down. And one of the nice things about working with watercolor paper is that even when things dry, like this little area right here, I should be able to come back the next day or whenever it's dry and kind of loosen up or change that line and make it more natural. And so right now what I'm doing is taking just a little bit of water in my brush and wiggling it around until I've changed that line, or make it a little bit more subtle and fading into the rest of the sky. So keep that in mind also. One of the things you don't want to do is to scrub the paper. You don't want to go back and forth with really intense brush strokes. So I'm going to go ahead and stop right there with the sky, and then we're going to move on to the buildings here. I already did this building with a Crayola marker. These are water-based markers, and because they're water-based, that will allow us to actually paint with them. So I just did this side, and it has had a chance to dry, so I can go ahead and do the next side. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, I did have a window here. I'm going to go ahead and erase it just for the sake of videotaping here. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and draw just a little bit of a dark area, and then I'll just pull that over as if it were paint. So I'm going to go ahead and make that edge with a line, and just shade a little bit further with my marker. Normally we don't think about markers actually shading, but you can when you use it in this form. And so I'm just making that line a little bit thicker and kind of uneven, just so I know I have plenty of pigment or marker down. Alright, and then it's simple as getting your brush wet and getting the marker wet. So I'm going to start with just the top here, and I'm going to go ahead and pull this across. And this might be where I say, hey, maybe I had too much marker on there. And if that's the case, you can just take a little bit of paper towel, dab off a little bit, and get my brush even wet, or wetter, and just pull that across. There is a balance between enough water in your paintbrush to liquefy the marker and not too much water in your brush. So I'm going to go ahead and take a little bit of that out, and I'm going to pull it across. I'm going to take a little more out, and I'm going to pull it across until it becomes almost a white on this edge. And I like this dark to light because it really emphasizes values and making things look 3D. Alright, and then I'm going to work on the bottom, doing the same thing. I'm going to loosen up the marker and pull it across, and then just keep doing that. Now, some things to think about is that I don't want to finish painting this building and then jump right into this building right here, because then I'd have wet paint by wet paint, and we don't want to do that. So I'm going to finish this building and then move on to a building that's a little further away from it. Or I would say, maybe I want to do something else in my picture. If my sky's had a chance to dry, maybe I'm going to go ahead and shade this gumball, because in my drawing I have gumballs falling from the sky. So I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of this dark value with my marker on, just on the one side though, because because I want it to fade into the other side. And so I'm going to do the same thing where I loosen up the marker, drag it across, and if I decide that that color is not dark enough, or if I want to add another color on top of it, I can do that after it dries. But I'm going to have the light source coming from over here. So I'm going to have the lightest value or lightest part of this gumball over here in the top right area. I also need to fix a little bit of my sky there, and that's things I can do after it has a chance to dry. Another thing I want to talk to you about is using marker for the sidewalks. And what I mean by that is I'm going to go ahead and just outline my sidewalk lines or cracks in the sidewalk. I can even just very slowly and gently outline the edges of the sidewalk. And if I'm really careful and take my time, I can loosen this up without getting rid of the sidewalk lines. And what I'm doing is basically coloring and shading with the marker. So I'm filling in the sidewalk with a light gray using the marker lines. Now that one disappeared a little more than I wanted, and that's okay. I can let it dry, I can come back and draw those lines in, and use a combination of finishing it with marker and finishing it with paint marker. So anyways, you can use the marker for painting your sidewalk. You could use it for almost anything. There are some areas where I would choose not to, like this side or this road here, maybe even not this area, which is going to be cement. But I think there are quite a few areas, small areas. These doors could be done with marker, the windows, and as I said, the gumballs, that could all be done with marker. And what I would like you to do today in class is I would like you to take that small drawing that I copied for you, and I would like you to practice doing some marker on your buildings. I would like you to make sure you get your sky done on your final so it has a chance to dry. And if you have gotten your sky done, it has a chance to dry, you've practiced some of this marker technique, I want you to very slowly go in and start doing some of your building. Alright? Now, one of the things I'm going to point out before I shut the camera off is I had a little extra water here, and I've got like a watermark because as it dried. And so one of the things I might do, and this is something we will do more on Friday, is you can come in and you can just kind of squiggle out those watermarks. But again, don't over brush your paper. But this is one thing I would work on, and we'll talk a little bit more about that on Friday and go over some of those things. So go ahead and practice on the little picture first, and then when you feel comfortable, go ahead and start working on your final. Last thing too, make sure you remember watercolor is a very light painting. It's mainly water and just a little bit of pigment.